Hey everybody, Adam Savage at Propstore down in Los Angeles with Brandon Allinger. Good morning, sir.
Hey Adam, how are you?
Very good. I'm so geeking out. We are in front of one of the most famous faces in film here.
Yeah, this is really fantastic. So a couple of months ago, we sold part of Anthony Daniels' collection, and coming up in March, we have the remainder of Anthony Daniels' collection.
So this comes from Anthony Daniels' personal collection, who played C-3PO in all of the movies.
Oh, yeah, all 9, or the number keeps rising,
yes,
I think. But
exactly.
yes, he played C-3PO many times. And this is an original trilogy head. This is specifically from Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
And what's fantastic about this one is that it is the original condition as it left set. So not only is the plated finish original, but all the weathering on top, the doling spray, and whatever it is that they painted on top of this to knock the shine down, that is all original, untouched from 1982 shooting of Return of the Jedi.
It also looks in nearly perfect condition for that. Like I see no external scratches over what is a very lightweight paint job.
Yeah, I mean, I think he took really good care of this one. You know, there is some very interesting discoloration, like at the bottom of the chin.
Yeah.
And in a few other places where the underlying plating's changed a bit.
Well, it could be from people picking it up.
Yeah.
That would be where your skin would contact this.
Yeah. But, you know, he had another one that we sold in our last auction.
Yeah.
That one was from the first film. But the finish on that one had really deteriorated over the years, and at some point he had it replated.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful that it was from the first film. We could screen match it based on some of the unique things. It had the dent from where he gets hit with the Tusken Raider. This one is not Star Wars. That's not the first film.
Yeah.
It's Return of the Jedi, but what it has in its favor is this original condition factor.
I think what people don't realize is even when you plate over plastic, the shininess is coming from metal particles. Whether it's sputtered on or whether it's electroplated. And so you do end up sometimes with patina, weathering, aging artifacts on that metal finish.
Which really just enhances it. I mean, it's, you know, there's so much going on with the finish of this. It's not like a gold surface. I can see the orange peel in the original finish, and then whatever this is, this sort of...
It looks like acrylic brown paint, like desert paint.
Yeah, that somebody has just brushed on it. It really brings it to life in a way that, you know, when you see a replica C-3PO head, they're just gold-plated. Nobody ever does this, but so much of the films, this is the look.
Beat to hell.
Yeah.
And you can even see brush strokes here, and it doesn't really matter. Famously, Anthony Daniels was always bolted into the costume. It was like almost a torture chamber. These 2 bolts on the neck were how the mask actually was secured. And then he had to look through these tubes.
Right. Yeah.
I remember being a kid reading an interview with Anthony about wearing this, only being able to see these tubes at the end of how claustrophobic it was and how isolating.
And now that you've said that, let me just hit the little red button at the back here and see if we can
Oh, look at that. Oh, that's gorgeous.
And those are the original bulbs in there, so we don't run them for too long. But that is it. And then there's like a sheet of black vinyl to shield his eye so he's not blinded from the lights. And as you say, I mean, it's literally the diameter of a pencil that he's looking out of.
Yeah, and then over the bulbs, there's like a sort of a lighting coating, right? Like a reflector. What would go over a fluorescent light fixture, sort of.
Yeah, and apparently I've been told by C-3PO enthusiasts that changes film to film. So the specific plastic pattern that's in there is different in the first movie to the later films.
And then these, what look like carefully soldered, almost like jewelry, brass bars over the fronts of the eyes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of work in this thing. If you look at the detail on those, and also the greebly at the top, the neck bolts that you were talking about a second ago, huge amount of work in, you know, what might feel like a simple design, but there's a lot going on with it.
And seeing actually also all the color differences, like this, the color difference on this neck bolt is a little different than on this neck bolt.
Some of it much more yellow in tone, and some sort of more brown in tone. And, you know, maybe some of it has changed a bit over time, or maybe that's just how it was, you know.
And now tell me about the gloves. Are they part of the Jedi suit?
The gloves, I think we don't know specifically which film they're from. So, you know, the reason we know this is Jedi is because we can screen match it. There's shots in the Endor Forest where you can see the weathering exactly like this. You see a couple of chips over here on the rim of the head, and you literally see those on screen really well. So there's no question it's that helmet. Interestingly, it's numbered inside number 5, so we know they had at least 5 heads for Return of the Jedi. The gloves, this style glove was in both Empire and Jedi, so it's really impossible to say which of the 2 films they're from.
And these are made out of of a soft vinyl, if I'm right.
Yeah, as opposed to the first film, it was a bunch of individual metal components, much more complex, much bulkier, heavier.
Right.
For the sequels, they went simple, just a cast glove. But much like the head we were talking about, look at all the greeblies.
And what's funny is you look at it up close, and this does not sell to me like future robot dude. It looks like greebly stuck on the thing. But the moment it's moving around on a person, I was just, that is what robots should all look like.
Yeah. A really successful costume, and amazing from not just the design side, but the engineering side, to figure out how to make all that stuff rigid, aluminum, fiberglass, et cetera, and make it work.
And you can feel the lineage in design from Maria, from Metropolis, all the way to here. Like it is, they bracket 20th century film in terms of important robots that tell us stories about ourselves.
And this has got to be, much like Darth Vader, one of the most recognizable images on the planet. I mean, the whole world knows what this is.
This is the first shot of Star Wars, is a silver and a gold 3PO talking to each other. And I remember being 10 and being like, ah!
Good point, yeah.
It's particularly beautiful to see the original bulbs light up in the eyes. There is a really warm quality, because they're incandescent, they're not LED. There's a warm quality that feels really special.
It gives it life. Really brings it to life.
Now, these aren't the only 3PO pieces in this auction.
No, it's, I mean, much like the last offering of Anthony Daniels, this is the second and I believe the final offering of Anthony Daniels material, but there is a lot of stuff from his career. So he saved paperwork, he saved ephemera like call sheets and chair backs and all kinds of things. So a couple other really fun pieces we can take a look at. This is his under tunic.
This is simpler than I would have ever imagined. So this is some detail that goes where there's a void between the forearm and the upper arm. This is providing that detail.
And look how simple. I mean, it's just screen printed lines.
Yeah, it feels like it's not even screen printed. Like it might even be masked and just spray painted.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Ludicrously simple, and yet I completely bought that was wiring going through.
And in the first films, it was. In the first films, they did real wires. This is the Jedi version. So they obviously realized we don't need the real wires. They're probably getting trapped in the joints. No one can see it. Yeah.
Right.
And so this is what it became. But yeah, that's, and
also, look at how, by the way, how do you fit into a 3PO costume? Well, apparently you are but a slip of a person.
Yes, yes. You have to be quite...
I know, it's dance stretch fabric. He's not this tiny, but it was particular to wedge him into that suit as the movies progressed.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this isn't the only part of the undershirt. We have the legs as well.
Yes, I think the legs, the gloves, there's a hood that goes with it. And he's probably sweating quite a lot in the film, so they must have had a number of these, wash them regularly.
As someone who has worn a lot of costumes that cover, one of the things I tell young cosplayers is everything that covers your whole body will make you sweat. You will just be boiling in there. I can't conceive. Yeah. Anthony Daniels had to wear this in the desert.
Right.
He had to wear it on hot film sets with big old film lights pointed at him while wearing this on top, underneath a fiberglass Iron Maiden.
And think about the claustrophobia. I mean, you were talking about the neck bolts.
Yeah.
Once he's in it, he literally has no way of getting out without help.
No.
Right? If everyone went to lunch and he's there, he's in a rough spot.
I remember being a kid and being amazed that he didn't even have a chair because he couldn't bend his legs. They made him a piece of board that he could lean on.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, which looks somewhat comfortable.
Yeah. An incredible achievement because the design of the character is so amazing. Tony's vocalizations, Anthony's vocalizations are also just, we all grew up with them.
I mean, there's one of the documentaries that was produced at the time where George Lucas says, Anthony Daniels is C-3PO. Without C-3PO, it's just a hunk of plastic, the costume. Yeah. And I think that's, extremely accurate.
And, now we're blessed with so many different Star Wars franchises. The Mandalorian is very much a retelling of Lone Wolf and Cub, one of my favorite Kung Fu franchises. And I also love that Favreau is borrowing from Japanese cinema because 3PO and R2 come from Kurosawa movies. Kurosawa always had these sort of bit players who were a Greek chorus commenting on the action, and Lucas pays homage to that by putting 3PO and R2 constantly talking about what's going on.
Yeah, and you mentioned Maria. I think the visual inspiration for R2-D2 was the silent running robots.
Ah, Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Yeah.
Wait. Are Huey, Dewey, and Louie?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, because I always mix them up with the Black Hole.
Oh, okay. Which is
That's a different robot.
Vincent,
that's it. Yes. I'd forgotten about that, the silent running inspiration.
Yeah, and that's what George Lucas was great at, is sort of pulling together different pieces of inspiration and saying, this could be this could be that. You know, he drew on so many things that he had seen before, but repackaged them in a way that we couldn't help but love them.
I will say that as a painter and someone who weathers and thinks about weathering a lot, it is really educational to get to see a piece as it left the set in 1982 with all of its original weathering on, because it basically makes me realize I'm always realizing I'm too careful. Right? Like on a film set, it is grab that bucket, throw this on, throw him into the shot, let's get it.
Quick and dirty, and it works.
And it totally sells. Oh, also, I love the fact that his neck piece is not soft. It's just this piece of metal that opens in the back.
Yeah.
They would just like slip that on him once he was ready to go.
And probably held in just by the back plate of the costume.
Yeah. It is incredible.
It's wonderful. And I actually, you know, it's probably a really significant piece because I think most of the original trilogy heads in the George Lucas collection were reused for the prequels and probably were all refinished, replated.
I'm sure
Certainly this weathering would have been stripped off. So to see it exactly as it was, it's really capturing a moment in time.
It does. And by the way, I noticed the two bald spots are not only on the chin, but up here. I'm guessing it was held like this by lots of people over the last 40 years.
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying.
Amazing to get to see these up close. I know we had talked about us coming and covering Anthony's collection. Schedule-wise, that didn't work, so I'm really glad to get to see these things in person.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, he had two heads. There were only two. This is the second and final one. He had a couple pairs of hands. He had some wonderful stuff. He also had a lot of paperwork, like the scripts. We have one of the scripts here. So this is from the very first film. And this one doesn't have a lot of markup in it, but it does have a little bit. And we asked him about it, and he said, well, the script was much too precious to go scribbling all over it.
Oh, my God.
So he treated it with great reverence and care. But this is the version that they actually went out and shot with. I mean, there's production photos where you see this yellow cover script on set.
It's an amazing artifact.
And that's his personal one with his name on the front page. Yeah.
I'm so glad he's decided to make these available.
And I think he's glad as well that they're going to people that care about them and that are going to preserve them for the future, you know?
Yeah. I feel like the producer in me wants to end with C-3PO complaining about something. Brandon, it's an amazing. And these are being sold together or separately?
These are separate lots.
Okay.
Yeah, so the head is its own lot. A pair of hands together. I believe there's a pair of feet also. And then the jumpsuit that we looked at. So, I mean, for Star Wars collectors, it's really an amazing opportunity to, you know, not only be able to bid on something like the head, but all these different pieces that just don't come up, you know, like his director's chair backs. It's just, you don't see stuff like that because nobody saved it, you know? But Anthony, fortunately, he did.
Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. See you guys next time.
I can't thank you enough for supporting us by watching the channel. If you've been to our merch store, you might want to head there again because we are always updating our roster with new products. Here is the anime-inspired Tested logo in Japanese, one of my all-time favorite new designs. We're also selling Tested mugs and Tested hats. Oh, and if you want a cup of tea, we're selling that too.
Tested-store.com.
Tested-store.com.